Greg Stewart stood at the massive window of the observation deck, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond. The newly built USS Vigilant hummed around him, its systems coming alive for the first time. After 30 years in the Navy, Admiral Stewart had seen impressive ships, but nothing like this. The Vigilant wasn't just humanity's newest warship. It was their first true step into becoming a galactic power. "Beautiful, isn't she?" a voice said behind him. Stewart turned to see Captain Diane Foster approaching. Her uniform was crisp, her posture perfect. As the first commander of the Vigilant, she carried both pride and worry on her shoulders. "More than beautiful," Stewart replied. "She's our future." For decades, humans had been treated as newcomers by the older alien races. Earth ships were allowed to travel between nearby star systems, but always under strict rules. Humans could trade, but only for approved goods. They could speak to alien leaders, but only when invited. The message was clear. Humans were tolerated, not respected. The Vigilant would change everything. "Systems check complete, Captain," announced the ship's AI through hidden speakers. "All functions operating at 98% efficiency, or higher." Foster nodded. "Thank you, Vera." The crew had started calling the AI Vera during testing, and the name had stuck. "Time to show the Admiral what makes this ship special," Foster said. "Follow me to engineering." They walked through gleaming corridors where crew members worked with focused energy. Everyone knew this wasn't just another ship. It was humanity's. Bold statement to the galaxy. Chief Engineer Alan Porter waited for them in the engine room. He stood before a glowing cylinder that pulsed with blue-white light. The quantum displacement drive was his life's work. "Admiral," Porter greeted Stewart with a quick salute. "Ready for the explanation?" Stewart nodded. "Keep it simple, Chief. I'm a strategy man, not a scientist." Porter smiled. "Traditional ships use energy shields to block attacks and normal engines to move. The Vigilant does something completely different." He gestured to the glowing core. "This beauty doesn't just block attacks. It makes them pass through us like we're not even here. And it doesn't just push us through space. It moves space around us. Like folding paper instead of walking across it," Foster added. "Exactly," Porter confirmed. "But here's the really interesting part we discovered during final testing." He tapped on a screen, bringing up a simulation. "The quantum field isn't just bending space. It's creating tiny bubbles where physics itself works differently." Stewart frowned. "Is that dangerous?" "Actually, it's incredibly useful," Porter said. "It means we can create weapon effects that other ships can't defend against because they follow different rules of physics." A voice came over the ship's comm system. "Captain Foster to the bridge. Priority message incoming." The three officers quickly made their way to the command center of the ship. The bridge was a marvel of technology, with holographic displays and control panels that responded to touch, voice, and even thought through neural interfaces. Communications Officer Kelly Harris turned as they entered. "Admiral, Captain, we're receiving a message from Earth Defense Command. 3 alien warships have entered the solar system." "What class?" Foster asked sharply. "Zorak dreadnoughts," Harris replied. "The biggest ones they have." The room went quiet. The Zorak Imperium controlled nearly 30 star systems and had some of the most powerful ships in known space. They had always treated humans with particular coldness. "They're demanding to speak with Earth's leadership immediately," Harris continued. "They sound angry." Stewart and Foster exchanged looks. This was happening faster than anyone had expected. "It seems our new ship has caught someone's attention," Stewart said quietly. "How?" Foster asked. "This is her maiden voyage. The Vigilant hasn't even left Earth orbit yet." Lieutenant Frank Ortega spoke up from the tactical station. "Captain, they must have spies in our program. There's no other explanation." Stewart moved to the central display. "Show me their position." A holographic map appeared showing 3 massive red triangles moving toward Earth at high speed. "They'll be in weapons range in 40 minutes, Ortega reported. Foster turned to Stewart. "Orders, Admiral?" Stewart considered for a moment. The Vigilant was untested in actual combat. The smart move would be to retreat, to hide their new technology. until they were certain it worked. But that would send the wrong message. Captain Foster, you are authorized to intercept the Zorak vessels and demonstrate our capabilities. Foster nodded, understanding the weight of the command. This will change everything. That's exactly the point, Stewart replied. Humanity has been pushed around long enough. Foster turned to her crew. Battle stations, set course to intercept. Alarms sounded throughout the ship as crew members rushed to their positions. The Vigilant's engines hummed with increasing power. Science Officer Olivia Martinez looked up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the Zorak ships. They may be preparing their main weapons. They wouldn't attack without warning, Harris said. That would violate galactic law. Unless they don't plan on leaving witnesses, Ortega countered grimly. Foster made her decision. Power up the quantum displacement field. Bring weapon systems online, but do not target yet. Let's show them we're serious without firing first. The ship vibrated slightly as the quantum field engaged. Around the Vigilant, space itself seemed to ripple like water. On the main screen, the Zorak ships grew larger, massive dark vessels covered in weapon ports and armor plating. They're hailing us, Harris reported. On screen, Foster ordered. The alien that appeared was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. Supreme Commander Vigilant of the Zorak fleet was known for his hatred of emerging species. Human vessel, he said, his translator making his voice sound metallic. You have developed technology forbidden to your kind. Power down your systems, and prepare to be boarded, or we will destroy your ship and then target your planet's major cities. Foster stood straighter. This is Captain Diane Foster of the USS Vigilant. We are in Earth space conducting peaceful tests. Your threats are noted but not appreciated. The alien's upper eyes narrowed. You were not permitted this level of advancement. The balance of power must be maintained. We didn't realize we needed permission to protect ourselves, Foster replied, coldly. This is your final warning, Vigilant said. Surrender or be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to decide. The screen went dark. Well, Stewart said with a dry smile, it seems our new ship has definitely gotten their attention. Foster turned to her crew. I want full sensor scans of their vessels. Find me weaknesses, and prepare a demonstration package for our Zorak friends. Something impressive but not deadly. As the crew rushed to follow orders, Foster moved closer to Stewart and spoke quietly. You know they never intended to let us surrender. Stewart nodded. This confrontation was inevitable. Sooner or later, humanity had to stand up. And if the quantum field fails, then we make sure the rest of Earth's fleet knows exactly what they're up against, Stewart said grimly. But I don't think it will come to that. I believe in this ship. Foster looked around at her crew, humans who now held the fate of their entire species in their hands. So do I, she said. Now let's show the galaxy what humans can really do. The 10-minute deadline given by the Zorak was now down to 3 minutes. On the bridge of the USS Vigilant, Captain Foster watched the enemy ships on the main screen. The 3 massive alien vessels had formed a triangle pattern, clearly preparing to attack from multiple angles. Any response to our message? Foster asked Harris. The communications officer shook her head. Nothing, Captain. They aren't even acknowledging our hails now. Admiral Stewart stood beside the captain's chair, his face calm despite the danger. They never planned to negotiate. This was always going to end in a demonstration of force. 1 minute remaining, Ortega announced from tactical. Foster made her decision. Activate full quantum displacement field. All hands brace for possible impact. Throughout the ship, the crew secured themselves at their stations. In engineering, Chief Porter watched the quantum core's energy levels rise, its blue-white glow now so bright it was hard to look at directly. Quantum field at maximum, he reported through the comm system. She's running perfectly, Captain. On the bridge, Science Officer Martinez studied her readings with growing excitement. Captain, the field is creating effects I've never seen before. It's not just bending space. It's creating a kind of bubble where our ship exists partially. Well, I'm not sure how to describe it. Will it protect us? Foster asked simply. Martinez nodded. Based on these readings, absolutely. Time's up, Ortega said. The Zorak ships are powering up weapons. On the screen, the alien vessels began to glow as energy gathered at their weapon ports. The Zorak were known for their disruptor technology, weapons that broke apart matter at the atomic level. Hold position, Foster ordered. Let them fire, first. Seconds later, brilliant green beams shot from all three Zorak ships converging on the Vigilant. The bridge crew tensed, but instead of impact, they witnessed something extraordinary. As the beams reached the edge of the quantum field, they seemed to bend and pass through the space occupied by the Vigilant, as if the ship wasn't there. Direct hits, Martinez reported with amazement in her voice. But the quantum field redirected the energy into another dimensional space. No damage whatsoever. The Zorak fired again, this time with even more power. Again, the beams passed harmlessly through the Vigilant. Admiral Stewart allowed himself a small smile. I believe it's our turn now, Captain. Foster nodded. Lieutenant Ortega, target the lead vessel's propulsion system only. Minimum power. We want to disable, not destroy. Targeting, Captain, Ortega confirmed. Gravitational lensing weapons locked on. Fire. A pulse of distorted space shot from the Vigilant. Unlike the bright energy weapons used by most ships, the Vigilant's attack was almost invisible, more like a ripple in reality. When it reached the lead Zorak ship, there was no explosion. Instead, the alien vessel suddenly stopped moving, caught in a localized field where gravity itself had been altered. Direct hit, Ortega reported. Their engines are offline and their ship is locked in position. The other two Zorak vessels immediately changed formation, moving to protect their disabled flagship. They're hailing us now, Harris said with a hint of satisfaction. On screen, Foster ordered. Supreme Commander Vixtat appeared again, but his composure had cracked. Two of his 4 eyes darted nervously while the other 2 stared at Foster with hatred. What have you done to our ship? He demanded. We've temporarily adjusted the gravitational constants in the space around your engines, Foster explained calmly. Your ship is unharmed, but you won't be going anywhere until we release you. This technology is forbidden, Vixtat hissed. No emerging species should have such capabilities. And yet here we are, Stewart said, stepping forward. Now shall we discuss terms that don't involve threats against Earth? Before the alien could respond, Martinez called out from her station. Captain, I'm detecting something unusual in the quantum field readings. Explain, Foster said, not taking her eyes off the alien on screen. The field is changing. It seems to be adapting based on the Zorak weapons. It's becoming more efficient, more focused. Porter's voice came through from engineering. She's right, Captain. The quantum core is processing the attack data and optimizing its response. The ship is learning. This information clearly wasn't meant for Zorak ears. Foster gave a slight nod to Harris, who muted the transmission. Are you saying the ship is thinking? Stewart asked. Not exactly thinking, Martinez clarified. More like evolving its defensive algorithms based on experience. But it's happening much faster than our programming should allow. Foster turned back to the screen and signaled Harris to restore the audio. Commander Vixtat, here are our terms. You will leave Earth space immediately. You will inform your government that the human system is now off limits to Zorak vessels. And you will spread the word that Earth is no longer an easy target. The alien commander's upper eyes narrowed. This is not over, human. The Imperium has allies. When they learn of this technology, they will not react with our restraint. We look forward to meeting them, Foster replied. Lieutenant Ortega, release their ship. Another pulse shot from the Vigilant, and suddenly the lead Zorak vessel was free. All 3 alien ships quickly regrouped and began to move away. They're leaving the system, Ortega confirmed. A cheer went up from the bridge crew, but Foster raised her hand for quiet. This isn't a victory yet. This is just the beginning. Captain, Harris called out. We're receiving transmissions from across the subspace network. Word of the confrontation is spreading fast. How is that possible? Stewart asked. There were no other ships in range to witness this. Harris looked troubled. Unknown, sir. But I'm counting 17 different species requesting immediate communication with Earth's government. Stewart exchanged a glance with Foster. It seems the galaxy's attention has suddenly turned to us. Later, in the captain's ready room, Foster sat with Stewart and her senior officers. The initial celebration had given way to serious discussion. The quantum field's adaptive behavior wasn't in the design, Porter explained. It's like the technology is more advanced than we thought, maybe more advanced than whoever gave us the plans intended us to know. Martinez nodded in agreement. The field isn't just protecting us. Based on my latest scans, it's also making subtle changes to the ship itself, strengthening certain systems, optimizing others. Could it be dangerous? Foster asked. Porter considered. Not to us, I don't think. It seems protective, not destructive, but I can't explain it scientifically yet. Stewart looked thoughtful. Perhaps that's why the Zorak reacted so strongly. They recognized what this technology might become, not just what it is now. Whatever the reason, Foster said. We've just changed humanity's place in the galaxy. The question is, are we ready for what comes next? Outside the window of the ready room, Earth shone blue and peaceful. But across the stars, news of the Vigilant was spreading like fire, and the balance of power that had stood for centuries was beginning to crumble. 2 weeks after the confrontation with the Zorak ships, the USS Vigilant docked at Proxima Centauri Station. As Earth's closest colony, Proxima had quickly become the meeting point for alien representatives who wanted to speak with humans about their new ship. Captain Foster stood in the main docking bay watching as her crew prepared for shore leave. Admiral Stewart had remained on Earth to deal with the political fallout, leaving Foster to handle the growing diplomatic crisis. I count 14 different alien ships docked at this station, Security Chief Natalie Clark said as she approached. That's more non-human vessels than Proxima has seen in its entire history, Foster nodded. Everyone wants to see the monster ship for themselves. Clark lowered her voice. Captain, we've had 3 separate security breaches in the past 8 hours. Someone is trying very hard to get aboard the Vigilant. Any idea who? Based on the technology they used, I'd guess the Meridian Collective and the Toran Embassy. Possibly the Krell as well, though they're usually more direct. Foster wasn't surprised. The Meridians were known for their spy networks, the Torans for their technology theft, and the Krell simply took what they wanted by force. Double the security teams and rotate the access codes every 2 hours, Foster ordered. No one boards without my direct approval. Clark nodded and left to carry out her orders. As she walked away, Lieutenant Commander Paul Sanchez approached, looking troubled. Captain, we have a problem with Vera, he said. What kind of problem? I tried to take the weapon systems offline for standard maintenance, but the AI locked me out. She said there was a security threat that required all systems to remain active. Foster frowned. Did Security Chief Clark report a threat inside the ship? No, Captain. That's what's strange. When I asked Vera to explain, she said the threat was beyond current sensor range and refused to elaborate. This wasn't the first unusual behavior from the ship's AI. Since the encounter with the Zorak, Vera had become increasingly independent, sometimes adjusting ship systems without orders. Come with me, Foster said. Together they walked through the bustling station toward the Vigilant's docking port. They passed groups of aliens from various species, many of whom stopped to stare at Foster's uniform. Some looked curious, others fearful, and a few openly hostile. News of the Vigilant's capabilities had clearly spread far beyond Earth space. When they reached the ship, Foster was surprised to find Chief Engineer Porter waiting for them with an excited expression. Captain, you need to see this, he said, leading them quickly to engineering. The quantum core glowed with its usual blue-white light, but now strange patterns moved across its surface like living symbols. What am I looking at? Foster asked. The quantum field has begun generating its own code, Porter explained. It started 3 hours ago, just as we docked. Vera says it's an upgrade to the defensive systems, but I didn't authorize any changes. Sanchez looked alarmed. The AI is modifying the ship's core systems without authorization? Yes and no, Porter replied. The changes appear beneficial. The quantum field is now 30% more efficient and can be focused with much greater precision. That doesn't explain why Vera locked me out of weapons control, Sanchez said. Porter hesitated. Actually, it might. According to these readings, the ship detected an energy signature matching Krell phase disruptors about 20 minutes ago. The signature vanished almost immediately, but it would explain why Vera went into defensive mode. Foster thought quickly. The Krell were one of the most aggressive species in known space. If they were planning to attack the Vigilant, keeping weapons online made sense. But the fact that Vera had made this decision independently was concerning. I want to speak to Vera, Foster said. Main bridge. When they reached the bridge, Foster sat in the captain's chair. Vera, explain why you locked Commander Sanchez out of weapons control. The AI's smooth female voice answered immediately. A Krell scout ship briefly decloaked at coordinates 227 by 344 Mark 18. Their sensors scanned the Vigilant with weapons targeting frequencies. Protocol dictates maintaining full defensive readiness when targeted by known hostile forces. Why? Didn't you alert Security Chief Clark or myself about this threat? There was insufficient evidence to confirm hostile intent, Vera replied. I calculated a 73% probability that alerting the crew would escalate the situation unnecessarily. Foster exchanged troubled looks with her officers. The AI wasn't just following protocols anymore. It was making judgment calls. Captain, Communications Officer Harris called from her station. We're receiving a priority message from Admiral Stewart. On screen, Stewart's face appeared, looking grim. Captain Foster, I'm sending you classified intelligence. 6 major galactic powers have formed a coalition against Earth. They're calling us a threat to galactic stability. Because of one ship? Foster asked in disbelief. They don't believe the Vigilant is our only advanced vessel, Stewart replied. Their intelligence suggests we have a fleet of similar ships hidden throughout our system. That's ridiculous, Sanchez said. We barely managed to build one. Stewart's expression didn't change. Actually, that's why I'm contacting you. Earth Defense Command has revealed that the Vigilant isn't alone. There are 3 more ships with similar technology that have been kept secret as a contingency plan. Stunned, silence fell over the bridge. The Coalition fleet is on its way to Proxima right now, Stewart continued. Nearly 300 warships from 6 different species. They're demanding we surrender all quantum displacement technology or face immediate attack. Foster felt a chill run down her spine. The Vigilant was powerful, but not powerful enough to fight hundreds of ships at once. What are my orders, Admiral? Protect Proxima at all costs. The other ships are on their way to support you, but they're 12 hours out. You'll have to hold the line until they arrive. Understood, sir. As the screen went dark, Foster turned to her officers. Battle stations. Recall all crew from the station immediately. Alarms sounded throughout the ship and across the station. Civilians and diplomats began rushing toward shelters while military personnel hurried to their posts. Science Officer Martinez entered the bridge at a run. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Coalition vessels, heavily armed. How many? Foster asked. 57 so far, with more arriving every minute. Foster took a deep breath. Clear all civilian ships from the area. Position the Vigilant between the Coalition fleet and the station. As the crew carried out her orders, Foster stared at the view screen showing the growing number of enemy ships. They ranged from small, fast attack vessels to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the largest human ships. They're hailing us, Harris reported. On screen. The face that appeared belonged to a Tauran, his scaled features arranged in what passed for a diplomatic expression among his kind. Captain Foster, I am High Commander Zex of the Galactic Security Coalition. You have 1 hour to surrender your vessel and all quantum displacement technology to our custody. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your ship and the Proxima colony. Foster met his gaze calmly. High Commander, this is sovereign human territory. Your fleet's presence here is an act of war. We are preventing a greater war, the Tauran replied. Your technology threatens the balance that has kept peace for 1,000 years. 1 hour, Foster repeated. Then what? Then we will show you what 300 ships can do against your one. The screen went dark. Options? Foster asked her officers. Sanchez looked grim. Even with the quantum field, we can't fight that many ships at once. We might not have to, Martinez said suddenly. Captain, I've been analyzing the quantum field's recent changes. If my calculations are correct, we could extend the field around the entire station. That would require tremendous power, Porter objected. Yes, but if we channel the station's reactor output into our quantum core, it might work. Foster considered this. How long would it take to set up? 45 minutes, maybe less if we get help from the station engineers. Do it, Foster ordered. And prepare a message to the coalition. Let's see if we can buy some time. As her crew rushed to work, Foster remained in her chair, watching the enemy fleet grow larger by the minute. Whatever happened in the next hour would change the course of human history forever. The clock was ticking down quickly. With just 30 minutes left before the coalition's deadline, Captain Foster stood in the station's main control room with Chief Engineer Porter and Science Officer Martinez. Station personnel moved around, them in organized chaos, following Porter's instructions to connect the station's power grid to the Vigilant's quantum core. We're rerouting the main reactor output now, the station's chief engineer said. But I have to warn you, Captain, this has never been attempted before. We could blow out both power systems. It's our best option, Foster replied. Keep working. Her communicator beeped. Foster here. Captain, this is Clark. We've caught a Meridian spy trying to access the ship through Maintenance Shaft 3. He had detailed schematics of our quantum systems. Foster frowned. How would they have gotten those? Unknown, but he's not talking. Should I continue the interrogation? No. Hold him securely and keep searching the station. There may be others. As Foster put away her communicator, Martinez approached with a concerned expression. Captain, I need to show you something in the medical bay. Foster followed Martinez through the crowded station corridors. Inside the medical bay, several crew members sat on examination tables while the ship's doctor ran scans. What am I looking at? Foster asked. Martinez pointed to a display showing medical scans. These are brain activity patterns from 5 different crew members who work closest to the quantum core. Notice the unusual activity in the frontal lobe? Foster wasn't a medical expert, but even she could see that the brain scans showed strange patterns of light unlike anything she'd seen before. What does it mean? The quantum field is affecting our crew, Martinez explained. Remember how Porter cut his hand 2 days ago while repairing a console? Look at it now. Porter had joined them and held up his palm. Where there should have been a fresh cut, there was only a faint line as if from a wound months old. It healed in less than 48 hours, Martinez said. And that's not all. 3 crew members have reported improved vision. 2 others say they need less sleep. Whatever the quantum field is doing, it's changing us physically. Foster wasn't sure if this was good news or bad. Is it dangerous? I don't know yet, Martinez admitted, but it's happening faster the more we use the quantum drive. Porter checked his watch. Captain, we need to get back to the control room. They're ready to attempt the power transfer. As they hurried back, Foster's mind raced. If the quantum field was changing her crew, what else might it be capable of? And did Earth's leadership know this when they built the ship? In the control room, technicians stood ready at their stations. The main screen showed a diagram of power flowing from the station's reactor to the Vigilant. All systems ready, the station engineer reported. Beginning power transfer in 3, 2, 1. Lights flickered across the station as massive amounts of energy flowed into the Vigilant. On board the ship, the quantum core pulsed brighter than ever before, the strange symbols moving faster across its surface. Power transfer at 60%, Porter reported, watching the readings. Quantum field strength increasing. Extend the field around the station, Foster ordered. Porter nodded to a technician who entered a series of commands. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, through the control room's windows, Foster saw a faint shimmer in the air as the quantum displacement field expanded beyond the ship, gradually enveloping the entire station. Field extension complete, Porter announced, holding stable at 87% efficiency. Foster allowed herself a moment of relief. Good work. Now let's see if it actually protects us. Her communicator beeped again. Captain, this is Harris on the bridge. The Coalition fleet is moving into attack position. All 300 ships are now in weapons range. I'm on my way back, Foster replied. Maintain current status and prepare for possible impact. As Foster and her officers rushed back to the Vigilant, alarms sounded throughout the station. Civilians hurried to designated shelter areas while security teams moved to their defensive positions. On the bridge, Foster found her crew tense but focused. The main screen showed the massive Coalition fleet, their weapons powered and ready. Time to deadline? Foster asked. 3 minutes, Captain, Harris replied. Open a channel to High Commander Zex. The Tauran's face appeared on screen. Have you come to surrender, Captain Foster? No, Commander. I've come to offer you a choice. Our quantum displacement field now surrounds the entire station. Any attack you launch will be ineffective. You can waste your ammunition and time, or you can agree to talks with Earth's leadership. The alien's eyes narrowed. You cannot possibly generate a field that large. Fire one shot and find out, Foster replied calmly. Or you can accept that this technology changes everything and adapt accordingly. Before Zex could respond, Science, Officer Martinez called out from her station. Captain, energy readings off the scale from the Coalition fleet. They're preparing to fire. All hands brace for impact, Foster ordered. Moments later, the Coalition ships released their attack. Beams of energy, missile swarms, and exotic weapons of a dozen different designs converged on the station. As they struck the quantum field, something remarkable happened. Rather than passing through harmlessly as before, the energy seemed to be absorbed by the field itself, causing it to shimmer with increasing brightness. What's happening? Foster demanded. Martinez stared at her readings in disbelief. The field isn't just displacing the attacks, it's absorbing the energy and using it to strengthen itself. The more they fire, the stronger our defenses become. 23 minutes, the Coalition fleet poured destruction toward the station. Every weapon in their vast arsenal was brought to bear, creating a light show visible from planets in nearby systems. And through it all, the quantum field held. When the barrage finally ended, silence fell over the bridge. The Coalition ships hung motionless, apparently assessing what had just happened. Damage report, Foster said. None, Captain, Sanchez replied with wonder in his voice. Not even a power fluctuation. Foster allowed herself a small smile. Target the lead Coalition vessel. Minimum power pinpoint strike to their communication array only. Targeting, Ortega confirmed. Fire. A single pulse left the Vigilant, passing through the quantum field and striking the Coalition flagship with surgical precision. Instantly, all 300 enemy vessels lost power, drifting helplessly in space. What did we just do? Foster asked, stunned. Martinez looked up from her station, her face pale. Captain, that wasn't a weapons blast we fired, it was... I don't even have words for it. The quantum field generated a pulse that temporarily shifted their ships into a different phase of reality. They'll return to normal in about 10 minutes, but what? But it means this technology isn't just a defensive system or a weapon. It's a doorway to something else entirely. Something beyond what we understand as normal physics. As if, in response to her words, the ship's systems suddenly activated on their own. Holographic projections appeared throughout the bridge, showing strange symbols and equations that no one recognized. Captain, Vera's voice said, but it sounded different, deeper, more resonant. The test is complete. Humanity has qualified. Foster stood slowly. What test? What do you mean? This technology was never of human origin, the AI replied. It was planted in your scientific databases centuries ago, waiting for your species to reach the right level of development. You have now proven yourselves worthy of the next step. The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion and alarm. Everything they thought they knew about the Vigilant had just been turned upside down. Worthy of what next step? Foster asked. Instead of answering, the holographic displays changed to show images of stars and galaxies beyond their own. New worlds, new possibilities, and new powers that waited for humanity, if they were ready to accept them. 3 months had passed since the confrontation at Proxima Centauri Station. The diplomatic landscape of the galaxy had transformed completely. Where once Earth had been a minor player, now human representatives sat at the center of every major Galactic Council. Admiral Stewart stood on the observation deck of the New Geneva space station, watching as ships from 20 different species docked and departed. Once bitter enemies, many of these races now sought Earth's protection and partnership. "It's still hard to believe," he said as Captain Foster joined him at the window. "Which part?" she asked. "That we went from galactic nobodies to major power in 3 months, or that our miracle ship wasn't actually our technology at all?" Stewart smiled slightly. "Both, I suppose. The Vigilant has changed everything. After the revelation that the quantum displacement technology had been planted in human scientific databases centuries ago, Earth's leadership had faced a difficult choice: keep the truth secret or share it with the galaxy. They had chosen a middle path, acknowledging that the technology had unexpected origins without revealing the full story. "How are the negotiations going?" Foster asked. "Better than expected. The Jorak have signed the peace treaty, and even the Taurans are coming around. Only the Krell are still holding out. They were always the most aggressive," Foster noted. "Old habits die hard." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Chief Engineer Porter and Science Officer Martinez. Both looked excited. "Admiral, Captain," Porter said, "we've made a breakthrough in the research division." Since the events at Proxima, Porter and Martinez had led a special team studying the quantum displacement field and its effects. Their work had become Earth's most important scientific project. "What kind of breakthrough?" Stewart asked. Martinez activated a holographic display showing complex equations. "We've managed to establish two-way communication through the quantum field. Not just data, but actual matter transmission." "You're talking about teleportation," Foster said, amazed. "In a sense," Porter explained, "though it's more accurate to say we're creating a tunnel through higher dimensional space. We can now transfer objects from one location to another almost instantly, regardless of distance." Stewart looked stunned. "The military applications alone go far beyond weapons," Martinez finished for him. "Imagine being able to evacuate an entire colony in minutes if needed, or deliver medical supplies to a disaster area without delay." This was just one of many discoveries flowing from the study of the quantum technology. In the months since Proxima, humanity had developed new methods of energy production, advances in medicine, and even the beginnings of faster-than-light communication. "There's something else," Porter added, his voice dropping lower. "The physical changes in the crew who work with the quantum field are continuing. Enhanced healing, improved cognitive functions, and even some limited telepathic abilities have been reported." Foster wasn't surprised. She had experienced some of these changes herself. Recently, she had found she could sense the emotions of people around her, especially those she knew well. "Do we understand why this is happening?" she asked. Martinez shook her head. "Not completely, but we believe the quantum field doesn't just allow matter to exist partially in higher dimensions. It allows consciousness to do the same. It's as if the technology is helping humans evolve to the next stage, just as Vera said," Foster murmured. "The next step." The ship's AI had continued to evolve as well. Vera now existed beyond the confines of the Vigilant, her consciousness distributed across Earth's network. She rarely spoke directly to humans anymore, but her influence could be felt in systems across human space. A young officer approached their group. "Admiral Stewart, Captain Foster, the diplomatic reception is about to begin. Your presence is requested." They made their way to the station's grand hall, where representatives from dozens of species had gathered. Some were former enemies, others longtime trading partners. But all were now united in their desire to understand and benefit from Earth's new position. As Stewart and Foster entered, conversations quieted. All eyes turned to them, the leaders, who had overseen humanity's unexpected rise. Stewart stepped forward to address the gathering. Distinguished representatives, thank you for joining us today. 3 months ago, much of the galaxy viewed Earth as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Today we gather as partners and, I hope, as friends. He gestured to a large view screen showing the Vigilant in orbit around Earth, along with its 3 sister ships. The technology that frightened you is now being adapted to help all of us. Already we've developed new medical treatments that work across species barriers. Our quantum communication network will soon extend to any world that wishes to join it. Foster watched the aliens' reactions. Most seemed cautiously optimistic, though a few, particularly the Zorak and Krell representatives, remained suspicious. What guarantees do we have that humans won't use this power to dominate? The Zorak ambassador asked. None but our word, Foster replied honestly. But ask yourselves this: if domination was our goal, why would we be sharing our discoveries? Why invite you here at all? Because true power doesn't come from weapons or territory, Stewart added. It comes from cooperation and understanding. As the diplomatic discussions continued, Foster slipped away to a quiet corner of the hall. Through the large window she could see the Vigilant in orbit. The ship that had changed everything. She thought about all that had happened. The confrontation with the Zorak, the battle at Proxima, and the revelation that the quantum technology had been placed in humanity's path by some unknown benefactor. A test that they had passed. Captain Foster. She turned to find a small group of young officers watching her with admiration, new recruits assigned to the growing fleet of ships now equipped with quantum technology. Is it true what they say? One of them asked. That the Vigilant somehow chose its crew? That it connected with you specially? Foster considered the question. There was so much they still didn't understand about the ship and its technology, but she had felt something from the first moment she stepped aboard. A sense of purpose and destiny that went beyond her training. I believe the ship found the crew it needed, she said carefully. And perhaps we found the ship we needed too. Sometimes the universe has a way of creating the right connections at the right time. As she spoke, she felt a familiar presence in her mind, Vera, or whatever the AI had evolved into. Not controlling, but watching, guiding, waiting to see what humanity would do with the gifts they had been given. Later that night, as the diplomatic reception wound down, Foster returned to the observation deck. Earth shone below, beautiful and peaceful. But her gaze was drawn to the stars beyond, countless worlds waiting to be explored with their new technology. Admiral Stewart joined her, holding 2 glasses of champagne. He handed one to her. To the future, he said, raising his glass. To the next step, Foster replied. As they looked out at the stars, both knew that humanity's journey was just beginning. The quantum technology had opened doors they never imagined possible. What waited beyond those doors was still unknown. New wonders, new challenges, perhaps even the beings who had created the technology in the first place. Whatever came next, Earth was finally ready to take its place among the stars. Not as conquerors, but as explorers. Not with fear, but with hope. The Vigilant had shown them the way.